So last week, one of the biggest headlines when it comes to real estate actually was not about home sales. Had nothing to do with prices or sales volume. As a matter of fact, the biggest headline had everything to do with tenants and landlords, because at the tail end of July 2021, the eviction moratorium that was put in place actually expired. And when that happened, people started to panic, obviously for all the right reasons. So if you're a tenant and you are panicking, wondering what is going on, this video probably won't solve all of your issues, but this week I want to go over a few things that I think you should be aware of, a few things that will hopefully help you through this trying time. I'm Chris Nelson with Genstone Realty, and this channel is all about real estate advice, tips, and tech. So if any of that excites you, you are in the right place, but do me a favor, drop me a comment, hit that thumbs up, consider subscribing, and mash that bell so that you're notified of my future content. So first and foremost, I want to get something out of the way, and that is a disclaimer. This video in no which way, shape, or form should be deemed as legal advice. It is definitely not legal advice. These are just a few things that I think you should be aware of or consider. The other thing I want to address up front is that if you are renting from an institution rather than a traditional landlord, some of these tips or points may not have as much value to you because, well, the easiest way for me to describe this or to define this is if you are renting in a complex where there are 500 or 1,000 units, or maybe the company that you are renting from owns thousands of doors throughout the country. Well, once they make an exception for one person, they have to make an exception for all. So if you are renting from a large apartment complex or a large institutional client, again, not to say that this video won't have any value for you, there's just a little bit less resource because those companies have to operate in either a black and white environment. They cannot create gray area. So let's dive into it. Again, none of these tips or points are legal advice, and they're really not in any particular order. So the first thing to consider is your financial situation. Now, if you are up for eviction or your landlord has filed for eviction and you have money, well, this is probably one of the easiest ways to solve the issue. Obviously, if you don't have all of it, and maybe you have a portion of it, convey that and try to come up with some type of terms or renegotiation of some type of terms where you can show that you have the ability to give a lump sum up front, but also you have a plan in place to make good on future rent payments, but also to pay them back for any of the debt that is owed from the time you stop paying rent up until now. Now, the other thing you might want to consider is if your credit is in decent shape and your landlord is willing to work with you, if you can cure the upset amount or your unpaid rent, maybe you can take out a personal loan. Now, when you are renting and you're behind on payments, it's not the same as when you own a home and you miss payments if your payments aren't in forbearance, because those payments are not going to go against your credit. So if you haven't been making payments to your landlord, well, unless they have actually been awarded an eviction, well, that usually isn't going to be on your credit. And you can actually go ahead and try to use your credit to get money to pay your arrears. So if your credit is decent, think about taking out a loan to get caught up. Now, if those options don't work, everybody loves a cosigner. Consider reaching out to maybe a family member, or if you have a really good friend, and I emphasize really good friend because these types of situations, if they go awry, if you miss a payment or two, and they start getting calls from the landlord, well, that could really put some strain on the friendship. So again, really a family member may be the way to go, but a cosigner, if you have the option of getting a cosigner and maybe renegotiating or signing a new lease, that is also another phenomenal way for you to stay in your home. Now, keep in mind, all of these last few options that we've given, they're a great way for the landlord, if you paint the picture correctly, to stop the bleeding. They can take this money or restructured lease agreement and almost get right back on track. Because the other option for them, knowing that the court systems are backed up, and if you're not making any rent payments, well, the courts can drag this situation out for quite some time, and it may not be something that the courts are doing on purpose, but there's only but so much bandwidth any court has to process all of these landlord-tenant cases. So trying to work with your landlord and stop the bleeding and getting back on track, these options may help, but there's more. If you have a skill set, for example, if you are an HVAC specialist or an electrician or a plumber or a contractor, and you are able to improve the property, this may be something that could be of value to the landlord. Now, again, I'm not saying that they're going to just consider all of the debt forgiven, but you might be able to work with the landlord and say, listen, I know I'm 9 months behind, back on track now. If I move out, one thing that I know that you're gonna have to do soon, if not right away, is a plumbing repair, an electrical repair, a heating, whatever those repairs are, and go to your landlord and say to he or she, if we can come up with an agreement, I will go ahead at my expense. And again, hopefully you're licensed and insured, because landlords such as myself definitely want to make sure the work is done accordingly. But you could go to them and barter some type of a skill set to help renegotiate terms. I think that's a great way to kind of keep your out-of-pocket expenses down, but also let the landlord know that you are serious about helping them. You're serious about helping them get back on track, and you're going to improve the property as a way to help offset some of the debt. Another option would be any type of local assistance that's out there. Now, I haven't done much research, and as a majority of you know, I spend most of my time on the buying and selling aspect of real estate, but I've heard that there are options out there from a government, whether it be a large government body or a local government body, where there actually are funds in place to help tenants get through these tough times. So go online, talk to your local council, and find out whether or not there's any local assistance or any other assistance that is out there that might help you either stay in your home by getting caught up, or maybe helping you find housing in the event you're not able to stay in your current rental. Now, these last 3 tips or points may not help you stay in your home, but as a landlord myself, and just as a person who is compassionate to others, these last 3 things are pretty big on my radar, and I really hope that these sink into you as well. And the first one is to make sure that you are responding. I know that the pressure is on and it's extremely stressful, but not communicating is only going to make the situation worse. Even if you can't pay, it makes a lot of sense, and there's a lot of value to picking up the phone and having that conversation with your landlord, rather than avoiding and dodging, because then the landlord looks at it as you're just completely avoiding me, and they have no idea what's going on. So whether it's your landlord or the courts that are communicating with you, do yourself a favor and respond in a timely fashion, because it's only going to help you at the end of the day. The second thing is, do not become vindictive. We live in a world where everyone wants to point the finger. It's your fault, it's their fault, this happened, because we are all trying to get through this storm. And the last thing that you want to do, because it's not gonna have any return, is become vindictive. So in the event you cannot save yourself from being evicted and you do have to move, do so accordingly, do so in a timely fashion, and don't take it out on the property or the landlord. Again, I know that some landlords are a little bit more compassionate than others, but at the end of the day, none of them are in this to give out free housing. Maybe there's 1 or 2 here and there, but the majority of landlords aren't in position to offer free housing. So understand that this is also a burden to them. And the very last thing is to know when to fight and when not to fight. If you know that this is a lost cause, save yourself the time, the money, and the aggravation, and also for everyone else involved, the landlords, the attorneys, the court systems. Take the money that you have or that may be coming to you and just go. Find yourself a home, and I know that that may be a lot easier said than done, but when you do the opposite and you try to fight knowing that you're going to lose, well, you're wasting time for not only yourself, for everyone involved, and it's going to end up disastrous. So know when to gracefully bow out, and know that there will be other opportunities for you. And I am always here. Again, this is not legal advice, but I'm always here to answer any questions, have any conversations that would be of value to you. But once again, I'm Chris Nelson with Genstone Realty. Hopefully there was some value to this video for a few of you out there. If I am overlooking a tip or if there's something that you think would help, drop it in the comments. Until next time, take care.